They say revenge is like an ice cake. The colder it's served, the sweeter it tastes. Everyone told me to forgive him. They said he was powerful, that I shouldn't stand against him. But what they never understood was that silence doesn't always mean fear. Today, 3 years later, while he's celebrating his success, he has no idea that the script of his downfall was written by me a long time ago. This is the story of betrayal and a silent revenge that changed everything. 3 years ago, my life was simple, organized, and predictable. I lived in Boston, working at a mid-sized publishing company called Brightleaf Publishing. Books were not just my job, they were my escape, my comfort, and my future. I always believed stories had the power to change lives, and one day, I dreamed of building a platform that would help unheard writers find their voices. That dream began to feel closer when our company hired a new executive director, Daniel Brooks. Daniel was charismatic, confident, and incredibly persuasive. He knew exactly how to walk into a room and own it. Within weeks, he became everyone's favorite leader. He praised employees publicly, spoke about innovation constantly, and presented himself as someone who wanted to reshape the publishing industry. At first, he showed special interest in my work. He often complimented my editorial decisions and creative planning. I felt noticed, valued, and honestly inspired. One afternoon, Daniel called me into his office. The sunlight streamed through the glass walls as he leaned back in his chair and said he wanted to launch a groundbreaking digital publishing project. He said he wanted me to lead it. I remember my hands shaking slightly as I accepted the offer. It felt like everything I had worked for was finally happening. For months, I worked relentlessly. I skipped holidays, worked weekends, and poured every ounce of creativity into the project. I designed the entire concept, built marketing strategies, and coordinated with writers and designers. The project became my world. Finally, the day arrived when Daniel scheduled a major board meeting to present the project to investors and senior management. I spent the entire night preparing, rehearsing how I would explain every feature and innovation. But when the presentation started, Daniel walked onto the stage alone. He presented the entire project as his own creation. Slide after slide, my ideas, my research, my strategy, all introduced under his name. My @5 Louise every passing minute. After the meeting, I confronted him privately. My voice trembled as I asked why he had erased my contribution. Daniel smiled calmly and said, "Emily, this is how leadership works. The team builds, but the leader presents. That's the reality of corporate success." I felt betrayed, but I wasn't prepared for what happened next. Within weeks, I was blamed for a minor documentation error and dismissed from my position. The termination felt sudden and unfair, but Daniel's influence within the company was strong. HR avoided conflict, and management trusted his version of events. I walked out of the building carrying a small cardboard box filled with my belongings, and a heavy silence in my heart. My family and friends told me to forget everything and move forward. They said Daniel was too powerful to challenge. But one question kept echoing inside me. Does truth always lose to influence? That day, I decided I would respond, but not with noise, anger, or confrontation. Il faut silence. Because silence, when paired with patience, can become the strongest strategy. Building the plan. Losing my job felt like losing my identity. Life became extremely difficult. I applied to multiple publishing companies across Boston and New York, but I began noticing a strange pattern. Interviews would go well, but offers never arrived. I slowly realized Daniel's professional network was quietly blocking my opportunities. For a few weeks, I allowed myself to feel defeated. I stayed home, doubting my abilities and questioning my future. But eventually, something shifted inside me. Instead of chasing doors that were being closed, I decided to build my own. I started enrolling in online courses related to business management, digital publishing technology, and brand development. During the day, I took small freelance editing jobs just to survive financially. At night, I studied endlessly. There were nights when exhaustion overwhelmed me. Sometimes I cried quietly, wondering if rebuilding from nothing was even possible. But every time I felt like giving up, I remembered Daniel's confident smile in that presentation room. And strangely, that memory pushed me forward. 1 year later, I launched a small blog called Hidden Quill. The purpose was simple: to publish stories from new and struggling writers who couldn't find publishers willing to trust them. In the beginning, only a handful of readers visited the blog. Sometimes I would refresh the page repeatedly just to see if someone new had read an article. But I refused to quit. I treated every writer with respect. I made sure they received full credit for their work. I responded personally to emails, encouraged feedback, and built genuine relationships with contributors. Slowly, the blog started gaining attention. More writers began submitting manuscripts. Social media readers started sharing our content. Within months, Hidden Quill transformed into a small digital publishing platform. The unique strength of my platform was transparency. Every contract guaranteed that writers maintained ownership of their content. This created trust, and trust attracted talent. Meanwhile, I occasionally saw news updates about Daniel Brooks. His company was expanding rapidly. He was receiving awards and being featured in business magazines. Oddly, watching his success didn't fill me with anger anymore. Instead, it gave me calm determination. I knew my journey was still unfolding, and rushing revenge would only weaken my position. By the end of the second year, Hidden Quill had officially transformed into a registered publishing company. We published several successful digital books and signed contracts with dozens of emerging authors. People began recognizing our company as a symbol of fairness and integrity. Then one day, I heard surprising news. Daniel Brooks was looking for strategic partners to expand his publishing empire into digital markets. He wanted to collaborate with companies that had strong connections with independent writers. Through a business consultant friend, I approached Daniel's company using my company's official identity, without revealing my personal involvement initially. We proposed a joint digital project that could benefit both companies. Daniel conducted thorough research about Hidden Quill and was impressed by our rapid growth and writer loyalty. He agreed to schedule a partnership meeting. The day I entered his office, time felt frozen. Daniel recognized me instantly. His eyes widened slightly before he regained his professional composure. I smiled politely and shook his hand as if we were meeting for the first time. During the meeting, I spoke only about business strategies, market expansion, and collaboration benefits. I didn't mention the past. I didn't accuse him. I didn't express resentment. But deep inside, I knew I was guiding events toward a moment where truth would reveal itself naturally. Sometimes, the strongest plans are those that unfold quietly, without confrontation. The truth revealed. 3 years had passed. Daniel's company organized a grand celebration event in New York City to honor its corporate achievements. The event also included the official announcement of our joint publishing venture. The ballroom was filled with investors, journalists, corporate executives, and industry influencers. Bright lights reflected from crystal chandeliers, and the atmosphere felt grand and celebratory. Daniel stood on the stage, proudly presenting his company's growth journey. He spoke about innovation, leadership, and visionary thinking. The audience listened attentively, applauding his achievements. Then he announced the partnership with Hidden Quill and invited me onto the stage. As I walked toward the spotlight, the audience applauded politely. I held the microphone and allowed a brief silence to settle across the room. Then I began speaking. Every successful company has a story behind it, I said calmly. And sometimes, those stories teach us what true success really means. I explained Hidden Quill's journey, how it started as a small blog supporting overlooked writers, and how trust and fairness helped it grow into a respected publishing company. The audience listened with interest. Then I introduced a presentation showing our company's ethical publishing principles and creative strategies. Finally, I displayed an archived project file. It was the original digital publishing concept I created 3 years earlier at Brightleaf Publishing. I showed time-stamped drafts, emails, and design blueprints that clearly proved the project was my work. The ballroom became completely silent. I looked toward Daniel and spoke gently. I am not here to embarrass anyone, I said. I am only here to remind everyone that honesty and effort always find their voice, even if it takes time. I clarified that I had no intention of filing legal charges or damaging reputations. My purpose was never destruction, it was acknowledgement of truth. The audience reaction shifted dramatically. Investors became curious about Hidden Quill's ethical reputation. Journalists began asking questions about fairness in corporate leadership. Daniel stood quietly, unable to respond publicly. After the event ended, Daniel approached me privately. For the first time, he apologized sincerely. His confident tone was gone, replaced by visible regret. I listened quietly and forgave him. But forgiveness did not mean forgetting. I politely declined continuing the partnership. As I walked out of the ballroom into the cool night air, I felt lighter than I had in years. The weight of betrayal had finally disappeared. I realized something important that night. True revenge is not about destroying someone else. True revenge is about rebuilding yourself so strongly that truth speaks on your behalf. Today, Hidden Quill supports thousands of writers across the country. Every new author who joins our platform hears one lesson repeatedly. Success is not about winning quickly. Success is about winning honestly. Because sometimes, silence speaks louder than arguments. And truth, no matter how delayed, always finds its place in the spotlight.